I want to give you guys kind of just a quick tour, a quick look at what you can expect in that new release. And so we're going to be looking at the new toolbar layout for WellBase, and there's also one in QueryBuilder. And then we'll just go ahead and just run through it, kind of see what all the toolbar looks are. You'll be familiar with a lot of the tools already if you've used GeoGraphix before. And if you're new to GeoGraphix, this is your first time coming to GeoGraphix, then not really much to compare it to, but kind of see what changes we've made and kind of what direction we're going in. So with that, if you've ever attended any of my webinars before, you know I just like to jump directly into the demonstration. So let's go ahead and take a look what the new WellBase is going to look like. So let me switch my screen here. You should see the other screen here now. So this is the 2019.3 release. Right now I'm just in Product Explorer. Nothing's really changed on that end. But let's go ahead and jump over to WellBase and kind of see what's different here. So already off the bat, you should be able to see pretty easily that we've made a change here to the layout and the interface. All the tools, the data, the functionality, all that's pretty much going to be the same. It's just now, how do you find these various tools and where they're going to be located? If you've kind of kept up with us over our releases over the past couple years, you'll know starting with our 2017.1 release, we've kind of started to update a lot of things to this more modernized ribbon toolbar look, something more akin to what you would see in Microsoft Office or something else like that. So everything's kind of more tab oriented as opposed to file, edit, tools, help, drop-down menu type things. Like I said, all your tools, all your functionality, nothing's really changed, or at least nothing's gone from there that you've worked with previously. You'll see a couple new things here and there, but like I said, the place that these tools are going to be is just different. It's going to take some getting used to and kind of familiarizing yourself with that. And like I said, I myself still kind of run across that as well, where I try to find the tool and I don't immediately remember exactly where it is. But we want this to be a little bit more workflow oriented as you start to think of things pertaining to a particular aspect of the tool. We hope this kind of breaks it down a little bit more so that it's in your mind you're thinking, I'm doing something with a well, that'll be in the well tab. I'm doing something with an import, that'll be in the import tab. I'm using a tool, that'll be in the tools tab, and kind of broken up that way. So with that, let's just kind of take a look at this toolbar. And where you can find these various tools. Like I said, what I think are going to be the most common ones that you guys will be looking for. So the first thing you'll notice whenever you open it up is that it'll start here at the Home tab. So Home is going to be just all the kind of the main basic kind of tools that you'll be using with the software. So things like your saving changes. If you remember from the previous release, this used to be the bar that was on the left side of WellBase, kind of that gray bar. Anytime you made a change on the well, you would get a little prompt there that said, do you want to save changes? And you click on that and then it would save them. Now it's a little bit more intuitive, with our buttons you see a lot in other applications have the save button. This one kind of has the same thing now. So that's essentially what that Save Changes button is referring to. Anytime you make an edit to something there in WellBase, you'll click that Save Changes to change that information. For instance, if I just make a change here, I'm just going to change the country from USA to United States. I'm going to click Save Changes on this. And briefly, you'll notice this little Changes Saved Successfully message down at the lower right-hand corner. In case you missed it, just watch down there next to the well count. I'm going to do it again. Changes back to USA. Click on Save Changes. Changes saved successfully down there in green. So you don't really see that bar appear on the left anymore. Now it's going to be down there in the lower right. And again, as you click out of the box and do things that way, it'll save those changes as well. So that hasn't changed. Just the button's in a different location essentially now. Your find functions are here on the Home tab. So your find next, replace, those tools again that you typically saw before in the wells drop-down menu now are here under the search option. You'll see again, these are kind of broken out: save, search, filter, navigate, view options, clipboard preferences, and the GVERSE and GGX over here. All these are kind of broken up by sections, so the buttons are grouped together. So there's your find well information, your find next, which based on the criteria that you're using for your find, it'll find the next well in that list. And then replace, if you want to replace something within the data, you can say, okay, look for a dash and replace it with an underscore or something like that. So all those tools, again, they're still here. They're just located now in this location. You should be able to also do, a couple other things with that as well. Again, all the same functions you got with the find tool, your asterisks for your wildcard and other stuff like that, that is still able to be used in there with the find function. Your filtering, where you can activate filter, you can access the quick filter, so you can pull up a quick filter from here with that button, as well as the quick filter over here at the top of the left-hand panel. There's now just 2 instances of that button there. Activating a filter, you pull up a list of your filters that you've created for the project. You can pull them up that way. Editing filter, where you can take an existing filter and then you pull it up in QueryBuilder to make some edits. And then as some of your other filter options that you have available to you. Again, this is typically the stuff you would have in your formation tab, where you can filter out formations and sources. And then in the zone tab, where you can filter out zones and attributes specifically. Previously, these were right-click options directly in those tabs. Now you just have a button option to find them directly up here at the top. Your navigate records, these were your green arrows that you saw previously. Now they're just larger arrows. You can go next, last, previous, and first. So next well just goes to the next well in the list. Last goes to the last well in the list and jumps to the very end of the record count. And then first takes you back to the beginning. So those arrows are still in there, just a little bit larger, easier to read now, as well as a bit more intuitive in what exactly those arrows are doing. So yeah, your next and your last there. View options, how you want to view your data directly here in WellBase. You have your highlight wells. You can highlight them in another application. Your GeoAtlas smart section, your geophysics, and your geomodeling. And you can view wells in, again, those same applications: GeoAtlas, Zone Manager, Log AMX section, Depth Registration, GVERSE Geophysics, sorry, Petrophysics. So you can just pull up that well directly inside of those applications. Toggling views, we're looking at this in Scout Ticket View. Remember, you also have your grid view, where you can pull up all the wells kind of in a almost a spreadsheet-like fashion. So you can look for particular wells, either sorting these columns however you want. So you can jump between those 2 views here. And again, as opposed to just a simple icon up there where you couldn't immediately tell what the icon's trying to do, a lot of these now had a little note underneath it to kind of indicate exactly what it's doing. So that's your Scout Ticket and your grid view. And also a button for your wellbore viewer, so you no longer have to go down to the Survey tab to find it, although you still can. It's still there. But now it's also up here at the top, so you can find that information easily. Your copy and paste options there from the clipboard, those are found from there. And again, your keyboard shortcuts will also still work there. And then some preferences as far as what shows up in your toolbox, what filters are going to be listed, or anything else like that. Other thing I'll point out here is, looking at this right away, you can notice that on the right-hand side, typically it's found on the right-hand side, but it can be anywhere really, you would have your icon bar. Your icon bar, where you can open up a different module directly there from WellBase. Because of this new interface, we've kind of changed that a little bit. So now you have this apps drop-down menu where you can pull up all the modules from here. And they're going to be listed in here. The same icons that you're used to, and again, little indicator next to them on exactly what they are. So your GeoAtlas, your X section, Zone Manager, Petrophysics, Geomodeling, Geophysics, kind of listed up here underneath GVERSE. Everything else is GeoGraphix. Again, just kind of a name change functionality there. But you can still access your modules from this drop-down menu as opposed to the icon bar over there on the right. So just a little bit different, but you can still pull up that information. So that's your home bar. All that information can be found along there if you're trying to do something within the tool there. And some of these other ones will also appear in some of the other tabs as well. Go to the Well tab next. So again, kind of broken down by workflow type things, things that are pertaining to just creating or working with a well. Your search function, so again, find next, and replace is also found here. Protecting well data, your tools, your sorting, and your bulk updating. So from here, you can add a well, not just creating a well from scratch. You give it a well ID, all the other information you want to, just a blank well. You can add that way. Adding a cloned well, you can clone your well directly there from WellBase. Deleting a well, editing a well ID, those tools found there in that first little section. Again, search functions, they're found here as well. Protecting well data, you can find that information here. Simply just click on something you want to protect. For instance, the scout card, I can protect that for this well. Click it again to unprotect that information. So button features up there for those. Tools, the various tools you might use for some of your wells. Specifically for wells can be found here. Wellbore viewer, production graph, well summary, looking up log information for the vector, raster, and text track. These are the same vector, raster, and text track options you have here. So you can find that information there in the, that's the well summary list I accidentally clicked on. The log drop-down menu there. Sorting wells, you can sort your information with a number of criterias here. You can sort by operator, then by well ID, then by TD if you want to, and ascending or descending there, however you want to sort those. And that'll sort your well list. So I'm in Scout Ticket view, that should sort this list as well as when you jump back to the well list view. And then your update information, this is just going to be other information that can be used for clearing up data or doing other kind of cleaning there. So I mentioned earlier there's the delete well button, as well as going to be some other bulk delete options. So delete all wells, delete duplicate data, and delete data. So delete well over here deletes the well that you're currently looking at. Delete all wells will delete all the wells either in a specific filter, if you have a specific filter active, or with no filter active, it deletes every well in your entire database. So just be a little careful with that option. One of the new tools we've added in here is the delete duplicate data tool. And what this one does is it allows you to delete information that is duplicated in the database somewhere. If any of you have ever run across this, typically sometimes with the 297 imports and some of the previous releases, with your perfs, DSTs, IPs, cores, and completions, in some cases, instead of appending data, it would duplicate the data. So you would have perf stage 1, 2, and 3 with their depths listed, and then whatever other information you had, and then it would you do another import of new data, and it would do 1, 2, 3 again, and you would just have these series of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 of the same data over and over again. And then the effort to make it a little bit easier to clean that up, we've added this delete duplicate data, so it just says if there's 2 records that have the exact same data in here that I can see in WellBase, let's just go ahead and delete that information. So you can delete that for whichever of these tables you want. You can do all the tables, you can do it across a filter, and it'll just go ahead and clean up that data without having to go into the database and kind of doing it on the back end. Now you can do that there directly on the front end. Didn't always happen with the 297 imports, but every once in a while, people you may notice that come up in your larger projects, and it would take some time to get cleaned up. So that should save you a lot of time there. And then the last option is your delete data. That allows you to go through and delete specific types of data on the well. Formation table, just the production table, just the curve data, whatever you want. That just deletes specific data about the well, not everything about the well. And of course, you can check everything if you want to clear everything, but it's just going to be specific data. And then it is filter aware. You can apply a filter to that, say, okay, for these 10 wells, let me delete all the curve data out, I'll re-import it. So again, a lot of those tools are the same ones that you're used to, just found in a different location. This is everything as it pertains to a well, kind of well-specific stuff. Just that new tool there is your delete duplicate data. View tab is going to be various ways you can kind of view the data that you're looking at here in WellBase. Again, changing from the scout view to the grid view, as well as turning off the WellBase bar and the status bar in here. These are just going to be various bars that you'll see directly there in the in that view. So that WellBase bar kind of turns off that left-hand panel. you're going to look at your units in English or metric, toggle between the two there. That's really only going to change the display here. If I change this to metric, it's just going to show me what these units are in metric. It doesn't really change over the entire database or anything else like that. Just kind of that display there. Same with the coordinates. Right now I'm looking at it at the database level, latitude and longitude, but I can switch that to map display and it'll just kind of tell me what is that coordinate as an XY. So again, that's primarily just going to be for well-based display. That doesn't change anything in the database. Your formation order, typically that used to be only found in the strat column. Now you can change that here, whether it be in strat order, alphabetical order, or age code order. Your formation fault calculation methods, those can be found up here as well, automatic MD or TBD constant, whichever one you're trying to pull from there. That way, anytime that you have calculation you need to do across formations, whether it be for like new survey data entered or anything else like that, it can be handled automatically there. And then a couple other things in here were just a well summary and project notes. Whether your APIs are found in here at 12-digit, 14-digit APIs, whatever they might be inside of the project, you can switch between that there. And then the various window views. If you have multiple well-based windows open at the same time, you can cascade those, tile those, open up a new one, whatever you want to do with that. So again, anything that's going to pertain to how you're viewing the data in here, that's going to be found in the View tab. Your import-export options, these are going to be where you go to import your data. You can also find these by going, clicking the large well-based icon up here at the upper left-hand corner, and there's your import options. It's kind of similar to what you were doing before. That's essentially your file drop-down option, but they can also be found from here. So there's your imports, 297, 298, ASCII files, internet connections, batch imports, spreadsheet imports, whatever you need to be doing from there. There is one specifically for spreadsheet imports. You can click that icon and it will take you directly out to Excel to run that import. Exporting out data. You can export that information into your ASCII files, ASCII 2, 3, and 4, or exporting out a Excel report. So again, that Excel report is the same button that we had previously. It's now just located up here. So again, no real change in functionality there, just a different location for that button. So again, you get your Excel report for various types of records from the database, and that takes it out to a CSV or XLS file, depending on the report that you're getting there. And then building out a DEFCON, you can build those out there with a defined conversion. So again, everything that pertains to an import or export of data can be found in that particular tab. Your layer tab will give you ways you can run the layer building tools. So you can create your well-based layer, your production graph layer. Both of those can be built directly here through WellBase, as well as what you might have been already doing inside of GeoAtlas. This is just another place you can build those same type of layers, as well as updating a layer or bulk updating your well-based layers. Both of those can be done here through WellBase as well, and your production graph layers. Again, typically you would be able to do those in GeoAtlas, but you can also run those directly from WellBase. No real difference between the two places. You can kind of do those. It's just another place you're able to do that. So your layer options, same options you saw before. Again, just now they're in that layer tab. And then the last tab here is the tools tab. And so this is where a lot of the meat of the applications can be found from here. This is where your data managers are going to be found. Your strat column, your source manager, your well-based symbol manager, and your fault manager. Those can be found here in the first couple of icons, directly here on the tools dropdown. One of the new features we've added with 19.3 is the Spotfire connection. Mine's grayed out right now because I don't have a Spotfire server set up on this machine currently. We're running off one of the Paperspace machines here. But this is where you would be able to establish and make that connection to a Spotfire database that you're already running. Again, we're not necessarily providing Spotfire, we're just providing a direct connection to Spotfire. So you'd have to already have your own server set up for Spotfire, managing all your data that way, and then we can connect to it and get to all your data that way. We've already had a couple webinars on the Spotfire database connection, so if you'd like more information about that, refer to that webinar. I believe Scott, one of our basically our VP of development, kind of goes through that. He knows a lot more about it than I do, so he's a bit more a better person for kind of going through some of that. But this is where that Spotfire connection can be found, is in the Tools tab. Batch processing, if you need to do bulk calculation tools, that's where these can be found. Bulk calculating out your surveys, your proposed surveys, well spottings and production calculators, all that can be found from here. So again, batch survey calculation is from here, batch proposed survey calculation is from here, batch well spotting is from here, and the batch production calculator is from here. And again, those tools will kind of run you through the various applications that or the various ways you were again doing those before. They would just be your batch methods. That's all under that batch processing found from there. Calculations, some calculations that you can also run from here. Your calculate formations, your proposed completions, your zone scan calculator, your consolidation of monthly production data, updating your production statistics. Those tools that you've worked with before are now just listed under calculations over here now, as well as a new tool we've gotten here. This is your grid convergence angle. So checking out the survey tab, kind of talk a little bit about this. Previously when working with survey data, you would have to double check with where you're getting your survey information from if your data was going to be either grid north, true north, or magnetic north. Depending on how that data was being read into the project, a lat-long database was always assuming that the data coming in was true north. However, that wasn't always the case. Like you said, sometimes you might be getting that data as grid north. So you would need to create a convergence angle to correct for that information so it would convert from grid north to true north, which in a lat-long database is what I'm looking for. So in those cases, I would need to find that convergence angle, enter it on the well, and then recalculate the survey in order for it to match up exactly where I need it to. Sometimes these angles were very slight, so I didn't really get much of a difference between my my landing spot between the two. And in some cases, it would be a lot larger. So it was always an indication that if you looked at your map and it wasn't quite landing where it was supposed to, there was probably something missing with that convergence angle. Now, instead of having to go through and manually enter that value for however many wells you need to, or import it in via spreadsheet, we can directly calculate that given a grid information as well as a time of calculation, so that it can go through and give you the convergence angle that is needed. So again, you can kind of do that in a bulk method here, choosing which wells to do it across, what the survey datum is and what the projection is, and then it'll go through and it'll calculate that angle for you, and then it'll correct all the surveys. So again, saving you the trouble of having to go through and finding it yourself, manually entering it, and then recalculating everything. This will take care of that process for you. And you can either do it in bulk through that grid convergence angle tool, or one well at a time, calculating out that grid convergence angle, again, choosing what the survey datum and the survey projection are. And of course, you can still always go through there, manually enter it if you need to do that as well. That hasn't changed. So that's just a new feature we've added in there, simplifying that survey calculation process and helping you correct your data, much more streamlined than what we had done previously. And then a couple other miscellaneous tools here. Well pad creation for well planning. Again, you can typically also do this through GeoAtlas. Checking your pick inventory, doing a composite formation top, and your unit conversions. All those tools can be found here just under the miscellaneous location. So that's the various tabs there where you can find these various tools. And again, sometimes it's going to take some getting used to and kind of figuring out where some of these tools are located. But repetition is key. The more times you come in here, and WellBase is one of the most probably one of the most used applications. You'll be in here pretty frequently. The more you use it, the better, easier it'll be to find those tools within there. But I said the key is just going to be thinking, okay, what am I trying to do? Am I trying to calculate something? That'll be under tools. Am I trying to check something on a well? That might be under wells. Am I trying to import or export data? It'll be under the import or export tab. Of course, at the same time, say there's particular tools that you run fairly frequently, and you don't want to have to go through there and kind of remember what tab they show up in. What we all have also added, and again, we've added these in the geomodeling and the petrophysics applications as well, is this quick access toolbar along the top. And this is where you can customize various tools and functions that you use fairly often and put them all along that toolbar so that you can find them a lot easier just by going to that toolbar without having to dig through the various tabs up there at the top. These will, however, only be the icon. It won't have the word next to it indicating what the icon's for. So you'll have to kind of get a feeling for what those are within there. But I can pull up that information and run those tools a little bit easier than what I have been doing previously. If I can find those in there a lot easier. So say I go into our import options here and I run a lot of, let's say, ASCII4 imports. Can add that over there. So that's just a quick button to take me directly to the ASCII4 import. There's my IHS 297. I can add that over there. If I go under tools and I do my batch survey calculation a lot, I can pull that in. I want to look at my source manager fairly often. I can pull that in. So go ahead and let that get added up to my toolbar along the top. No, need to click OK first. And in some cases, if the icons look fairly similar, you don't remember exactly what the icon looks like, you can hover over it and it'll tell you what it will take you to. So there's your GeoGraphix ASCII4, there's your IHS 297, source manager, batch survey calculation. So you can simply hover over that and make that a bit easier to read as well. And as far as the placement of that, right now it's at the very top of the screen. I can also choose to put that below the ribbon, so it's just above here where I get my well list. And again, it'll fill that out and it'll go across the page there. So you can kind of fit as many as you can across that area. So again, commonly used tools and features you can kind of put in there so you don't have to go and dig for them wherever you want to. So yeah, there's your show above and below ribbons. You can just toggle that on and off there without having to go back into the menu. Okay. I mentioned before, this is your kind of file list you can pull up as well. Close WellBase, open up a new WellBase window, save changes, import and export data, as well as your project notes and your document library can be found from here. And again, document library can still be found down here at the bottom as well. So this is some of the kind of the new features there in WellBase, the new look, the new layout. Like I said, the biggest changes here being that delete duplicate records and the convergence angle calculation for survey. Some pretty big changes there for helping you clean up and manage your data directly there in the database. I'm going to jump over to QueryBuilder, kind of show the new look to that one as well. A little bit easier to manage as there's only the kind of the one main tab here, the home tab. So all the things you would typically run inside a QueryBuilder, you can pull from here as well. So your run filter is now a exclamation point as opposed to the filter with the lightning bolt on it. It's here in the results section. So you can run the filter. You can choose whether to show the SPY row down here at the bottom. Show the SQL when you run the filter, it'll give you the SQL command that it's pulling from. Clearing the grid so you can start over again. And then exporting your results out into a spreadsheet. That's all found here under results. Tools are your set operations, as well as your log data filter if you want to do a more petrophysics-based filter looking for wells that have curved data. That can be found directly here inside of QueryBuilder. And then deleting filters if you need to clean up a list or anything else like that. You can delete your filters from that list there. And then how you're accessing data from the database, whether you're going to be querying well-based data, smart section data, lease map data, or size-based data. All that was previously in there. And then your format. You can change the column width and and the font information from your results. That can be edited and changed from here as well. And again, your apps drop-down menu can be found from here. Again, and primarily just in this one in WellBase where we've got the new ribbon toolbar look, you'll see that that drop-down button there as opposed to the icon list. But a lot of the other modules will still have the icon list in there. And this one also has the quick access command toolbar along the top. If you want to pull up any of those commands and put them up there, and again, move that down below here, below the ribbon toolbar if you'd rather it be there. Again, the exact same way you did inside of WellBase, you can do that here in QueryBuilder also. Functionality of QueryBuilder and everything else like that hasn't changed. All the tables are still presented here, and the data you can query from is still presented here. All that is run pretty much the same way it had been before. So with that, it's kind of the major changes there to QueryBuilder and WellBase as far as the presentation and the look and feel goes for how that data is going to be looking. Yeah, hopefully you guys like those changes there. And like I said, it takes some getting used to and exactly where each one of those is pulling from. But I like to think some of those are going to be a little bit easier to run, as it's just going to be a click and it runs, as opposed to having to dig through menus to kind of find some of them. But yeah, so that's the new look for 2019.3. I'm sure over the next coming releases we'll be doing something similar to a couple of the other applications. Like so, we've got geomodeling, geophysics, and petrophysics with those changes, and now WellBase and QueryBuilder. So a few more to go. And we'll be making a couple of those changes as we move along here. So with that,